Now I know full well this illegal wedge was spinning an incredible amount with a sound wedge technique. But how good is it with a bad one? Guys, how you doing? Welcome back to a brand new video. Simon down here at Sanford Springs Golf Club, and I am trying today the non-conforming Smith Works wedge. I recently acquired this. I'm selling a lot of left-handed clubs on behalf of one of my clients, and in that bundle of clubs was this, which I was exceptionally excited to hit. Now, about a year ago, I remember watching Peter Finch's review on this club. Exactly, he tested against the conforming one, which you can get, which does meet all the requirements of the RNA and USGA, and against a Vokey as well, and it's very good, and there's lots of numbers and data, so I highly recommend you going and watching that review. That being said, what I want to know today is how good is it with a bad swing, because Peter's a very good golfer, very good with his wedges, and let's be honest, any wedge in his hands is going to spin upwards of 9,000, 10,000, and he's going to have a very good touch and control around the green. Left-handed in my hands though, how do I feel? What does it feel like? Can I get any more spin compared to other left-handed clubs? Let's test that absolutely battered right-handed one with my right-handed technique, and how good can I produce backspin with this left-handed non-conforming one? Because let's be honest, this will spin more than anything else in the market out the rough. I'll show you the grooves, I'll show you how deep they are, how wide they are. This is designed to help you guys get more control around the greens. Now, you couldn't use this one in competition, but for you guys that are just trying to get a general touch around the green, is it worth it? £120 new. These are going for about £60 to £70 from the looks of things on eBay, and I'm just generally interested to see how this performs in my left-handed swing. So first things first, here are the wedges that we're going to be using today. The litmus test, I'm going to hit some right-handed shots with this battered 58 ZTP TaylorMade TP wedge, and I'm going to hit some with a very nice shiny RTX 4 58 degree. Now obviously both of these are the same loft, and the point I'm doing this test, which you're seeing now, is that you will see no matter what right-handed wedge I have here, it could be a nice Dunlop, Hippo, you name it, I'm going to tear this apart when it comes to the left-handed game, and that's the most important thing out of this video. Rick Shields, Peter Finch, Matt Fryer, myself, any other pro that you see on YouTube has a good sound wedge technique, meaning that they could be zero grooves, they could be loads of grooves, but on a nice dry summer's day like this, we're going to be applying a lot more spin than we would be with a 300 pound, 400 pound, 500 pound wedge with ultimate grooves, non-conforming, illegal, everything else, purely because our technique is better and we're compressing the ball correctly. So as we evidently can see, technique makes a big difference in terms of wedge play. Even though these probably came out a lot lower, a lot fizzier, realistically in terms of control, dispersion, this one, and obviously don't get me wrong, new grooves, everything else does play a part. But concern yourself more about technique opposed to your equipment, especially when it comes to wedges. One thing I love about this wedge, without even hitting it, it feels heavy. I like heavy, especially when it comes to wedges. Like both of these, when you put them in your hand, I mean, they're just so lightweight. And even though I've kind of got used to that over the years, and Vokeys and RTXs, whatever it might be, for a beginner, for someone starting, someone that wants a bit of confidence, and for the majority of you, let's be honest, that probably have big cavity backs in the bag, I want a wedge that's going to blend into the set. So overall, I like the fact that this feels like one of my irons. If I was to use M2s from TaylorMade, or if I was to use X Hots from Callaway, you know what I mean, those big chunky ones, the Ping G30s, this would feel very similar to the rest of the bag in terms of weight. And I like the weight as well because it kind of slows down your tempo. Everyone's so flippy, quick with their hands when it comes to the wedge play when they play this game. Hopefully, well, we'll find out in a minute, this should slow your tempo down and get that kind of timing to also aid that spin.
Okay, so I just want to hit a few shots with the RTX. Now this isn't a fair test because one's 58, 160 degrees, different shafts. To be honest, having the conforming Smithworks and the non-conforming side by side would be a fair test, hence why data doesn't really come into it. But what I want to know is, do I feel more confident? Do I visibly see some more spin on the ball for these short shots? Because you're gonna spin the ball at 8,000, 9,000 with any wedge from 100 yards purely because of the loft ratio. But around these 20 yards, 30 yards, in the rough, out the rough, how confident are we? Do we get some more visible spin? Do we get more control? Does it feel easier to manipulate around the green?
Inconclusive, to be honest. I mean, overall, I do feel that this just seems more confident here, just out of the nature of it being bigger and heavier. But in terms of dispersion, I mean, let's be honest, the RTX was better. I mean, I even hit one heavy, and again, this just goes down to technique more than anything else. But potentially these two, I'll show you the clips now, they did have a bit of zip on it.
Now this next test should favour the Smithworks wedge, mainly because of those deep grooves. And this is to explain to you guys what a non-conforming or illegal wedge is. One that have got very wide, deep grooves are going to be better filtering the grass and the water away from the ball than this one would, the conforming grooves. And the idea of bringing this in way back when was to give pros less of an advantage that could hit it a mile but didn't keep finding the fairway, but they weren't concerned because they could get enough spin on a very fast, firm green on the PGA Tour, European Tour, and they decided that wasn't in the spirit of the game. Watch Peter's video, and off a dry surface fairway with nothing in between the ball and the face, you're gonna see very little difference between these in terms of spin rate, especially if you're hitting it 100 yards or so. But out the rough, from a short distance, you'd like to think the Smithworks is gonna do something. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm impressed with both wedges throughout this test. This is an easy shot if you've ever played Sanford before. Out the rough, 15 odd yards to the flag, downhill, going away from you, right to left, and both balls were stopping reasonably well and checking. Now, the Smithworks definitely pipped it, and to be honest, I don't think I even caught them as well as the RTX. I think I hit three solid shots with the RTX wedge, and I'd say the Smithworks was actually a bit substandard, but still produced the goods and still got enough check. Last test around the green here. I'm gonna hit 4 shots. I'm gonna hit 3 shots with my battered TaylorMade wedge right-handed, and I'm gonna hit 3 shots with the Smithworks left-handed. And the battle is, which one can I get to check quicker? We're gonna lay a club on the ground next to the flag. The ball has to land over the club but stop short of the flag, or stop as close to the flag as possible, i.e. which one can get more check. Technique versus grooves. What a fascinating test, because even though with the right-handed club, dispersion you're going to be taking all day long, but realistically I didn't get one to stop past the golf club because my brain just wouldn't allow me to do it. I just knew the ball was bouncing past that out the rough with those lies. It was going at least 6 foot past, and my brain just couldn't land it past that golf club. Whereas the Smithworks wedge, it was all over the place. I hit loads of them way too far. They went all out the back, and that's just down to technique. But in terms of relation to spin, I'm going to show you some more shots. I hit a few more afterwards because I didn't really think that proved anything apart from my left-handed wedge play trying to stop a ball within 6 feet of the flag is awful. You can see here even a few of them stopped just before the flag, but they stuck, they zipped, and it goes to show that grooves, especially out of the rough, especially these ones, the serrated ones. So I guess the big question now is, would I recommend this to a beginner? Because from my eyes, from these short pitch shots, which let's be honest is realistically what this club is designed for, I wouldn't imagine someone having a full set of these in the bag. I think a 60 or 58 or 56 degree wedge in this is perfect because it's for those short bunker shots, flop shots, pitch shots around the green. That's going to get you some more check. Yes, it's going to get you more spin out the rough potentially from a full shot, but for the normal amateur, the height, the spin and the lack of technique is going to fall apart there. If you want to get more spin from your wedge shots, if you want to get 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, learn to compress it, learn to have a good swing path, learn to have a decent angle attack, and you won't need a Smithworks wedge to do that. Throughout the testing today, I visibly saw and felt more spin off that face. There is no question. But would I advise a beginner to spend £120 on this wedge for that? I think that's down to you guys at the end of the day. I don't know if that would dramatically reduce your scores if you're trying to break 100, trying to get down, let's say, below 90, because even as I showed with that last test, you can manipulate the ball
to run out more. And if anything, I highly recommend a lot more of my lessons and clients to use more of the bump and run, go upper club, go to the pitching wedge, go to the 9-iron, get that ball rolling, because the chances of disaster, thinning, fatting is just that much less. That there potentially is going to save your scores out on the golf course. If you want the most spinning wedge potentially I've ever tried on the market from these short shots, and especially out the rough, this is the bad boy. So then we come on to the conforming issue of this club, because if this was a conforming wedge, then arguably I would tell everyone to go and get it, because it's giving you an advantage. If you get a second-hand one for £70, or if you want to stretch out, spend £120, by all means, this thing's going to give you that advantage around those short pitch shots, especially in the rough. But it's not conforming, therefore you have a multitude of wedges to choose from, because in my eyes, Cleveland, TaylorMade, Callaway, Mizuno, whatever it is, they're all as good as each other. You know why? Because they are all exactly the same. They have to meet the same requirements, and whatever pattern or little lines they put on them, you now know the extent a wedge has to go to. You've seen the grooves on this thing, you see how deep they are, you see how wide they are, and even then I was able to destroy it with a bit of technique on my right-handed game. So then it brings me to the question, who's it designed for? And it's that weekend golfer, or not even that monthly golfer that gets out once every 6 weeks, plays with their mates, maybe goes on a lad's holiday, wants a bit of advantage, wants something that's going to give them a bit more control. And it's a lovely wedge, and actually it blends nicely into a set of that cavity back iron variety. But it is £120 for quite a small advantage, where you're probably more scared about thinning or fatting out the back rather than getting 4, 5, 6, 7 RPM more backspin on your 10 to 15 yard wedge shot. Guys, if you like this video, leave it a like, subscribe if you are new. It's a cool wedge. I'll leave it up to you guys to see if it's worth it. See you later.